Hey, I'm Frank Yosa, CEO of Ketone. This is my drink here, KE4 from Ketone, Ketone Ester. And this video is specifically for Harlan Kilstein. I hope I said his name right. And he's part of a group that he created called CompletelyKeto and also known for Speed Keto. I really don't know much about the details of the program, but I do know of many people that are satisfied with it. Even my designer, I didn't know that she was going keto, and she somehow heard Harlan talk about the ester on Facebook Live, and she's like, "Oh my God, I know that guy!" So he's very popular. A lot of people like what he's doing, so you can check it out. Completely Keto, and then a separate paid program called Speed Keto. So check that out. But this is for them because they've heard one side of the story from Harlan's, and then people are asking me, "Well, how do I take it based on how it's worked for him?" So I just wanted to do a video here so that you guys can, you know, instead of me writing to each person, I could do an extensive, video here. So first of all, Harlan, it happens to be super sensitive, which is great because then it costs less money, and that's actually I prefer that because then you can take it more frequently. It's more sustainable. You can, make it your every morning routine or nighttime routine for him. So when I say super sensitive, first of all, he had to take it 4, if not 5 times before it worked. And then when it finally did work, he's like, whoa, my goodness. So the first few times, I think what was happening was because he was super sensitive, and when you're sensitive to things when you take Advil or Benadryl, where you're one of those people that have to like slice the pills in half. So that's what a sensitive person is. Not super sensitive, like nice and sweet, charming, which he may or may not be. I'm sure he is. So he was taking maybe 10 mLs in the morning, and he was crashing, feeling hungry, feeling tired. That means that it was just too much of an energy surge, and he was crashing. And it's similar to glucose packet. If you took too much of that, you'd have a surge and a crash. Sometimes it's from hypoglycemia as well, where your blood sugar drops too much. So whenever I hear someone say that they've yawned, they feel like they wanted to go to bed, and those are the and hungry, or if they are like even opening up a cabinet thinking about food, that means either the blood sugar went down too far, or you just got a spike and a crash. And for those people, I just say automatically take half of whatever you took before. So with Harlan, he was taking, I think he was down to like 2.5 mLs or 2.5 before bed, so a super tiny amount. That's like $1 worth before bed. Yes, you can take it before bed, which is a crazy concept. I don't fully understand it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. But when the doctors and scientists were saying that they were taking it before bed and sleeping like a baby, I started to. And I've got an Aura ring here so I can track deep sleep. And people are posting on my Instagram account, "Hey, look at this. Here's my deep sleep." And then suddenly he took Ketone Ester and it just spiked up, 45 minutes. And so the first time he took it before bed, he took an hour before. And I said, no, that doesn't work because you can get a second wind because it's kind of like an energy in that sense. But he then took it right before bed, which means 5-10 minutes. It doesn't help you go to bed. It's once you're asleep, it can help you just fuel the mitochondria and just have a deeper sleep, and that's where a lot of recovery happens. People sometimes wake up earlier in the morning. People sometimes don't wake up in the middle of the night, the 2 or 3 o'clock when they normally have a they might have a wake up. So it just stops that, so they have a more restful sleep. So that's how he started to first like it. And then I said, hey, let's go back to that initial protocol of taking it first thing in the morning, where I normally say, hey, start small. This is a 60 ml bottle, and I was telling people to take 10 mLs. For him, had him go down to 5 mLs. So that's what worked for him. Try different types. Women tend to be more sensitive, so they can start at 5, 7, and men tend to start at 10. And then if you don't feel anything, you can go up, or you can even actually go down and see if that's any better. So here's a phone call I got. So people reach out to me on the Facebook Live that's on our site, and I get back to them, and they're like, "Oh wow, I didn't think you would respond." Believe it or not, only 1 out of 200 people ever reach out, so it's really not that unmanageable right now. And it's May 11th, 2019. That might change. And so let me tell you a story. So someone called and said, "Hey, I took 10 mLs, and this is a woman. I felt nothing." I said, "Okay, and we talked about the different things, and I said, "Oh, did you work out afterward? Because that is a variable that changes. You can actually take less when you do it before a workout because the workout kind of multiplies it." she said she worked out, and I said, well, did anything happen in the workout? Like, were you lifting more or less tired? She said, yeah, actually at the end, I said to myself, hey, I think I'm ready to go up a set in weights, like go up 5 pounds. I said, well, yeah, that's the ester. Like that's what it does. And then I said, did you drink any coffee? And she said, yeah, after the workout, I drank coffee. And I said, did you have jitters? And she goes, yeah, how did you know? I never have jitters. Again, this is the second thing. She had jitters. The ketone ester will multiply caffeine. And I've got a bunch more videos. Subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/ketone. Maybe I'll put the video up here on what happens with caffeine. Don't mix it with MCT oil. I've got a separate video for that. And we can talk about that even in this video real quickly. It just doesn't mix. Same pathway, and the MCT oil blocks the ester, and some people have GI problems from the MCT. So the 10 mLs, she said she had jitters, so the solution for that is don't necessarily do decaf, because then you'll wonder, hey, I'm not feeling anything because you're offsetting one stimulant for the ester, but do a half calf or something like that, or instead of 2 cups of coffee, do 1 cup. You could take L-theanine, because L-theanine is something that will stop the jitters from caffeine, so that works together. But I wouldn't take L-theanine and ketone ester. Those actually don't work together because it makes you too calm. It makes you just too relaxed and apathetic is what happened to me. I was like, yeah, well, I cut out my caffeine, so then, yeah. So back to the 10 mL. So lifted more. I think she also added 20 minutes to her workout. She just, didn't feel like, she felt like she still had, more energy. Wanted to lift more weights, and then had jitters. So 2 positives and 1 negative. And I was like, that's what it is. That's what you're gonna experience, those subtle changes at that small amount. And it might be, some people describe it as their above average good day of the week, or their best day of the month, just how they felt that day. But then the difference is you're then feeling that every day. So some people miss it. Some people take the ester and they expect a caffeine buzz, but instead it's a calm energy, like a focused energy, like a ninja, or the flow state. But it's not like a jittery, have to go around cocaine speed type, energy. It's not like that. Some people can actually miss it. Some athletes actually don't even feel the difference. We had some people, take it while running. They said they didn't feel any different, and their preserved exertion was exactly the same. And then they looked down at their watch and they're running 5 to 10% faster. So you don't necessarily, not everyone will feel it, but someone in the group actually already responded that they did feel like they were all energetic throughout the entire day. So everyone reacts differently, and it takes different amounts. If you're super scared, there's no reason to be. So people, they get scared. We've had people take 150 mLs in one day, and someone gets scared about taking 2 mLs, and then they take the 2 mLs and they say, I felt nothing. Well, that's 2 mLs. That's super tiny amount. So if you manage your expectations and try 2 mLs, doesn't do anything for you, or you don't notice anything, then you can bump to 5 and 10. But usually we tell women to start at 5 and 7. It's kind of based on being a woman, tend to be more sensitive, but also based on body mass. So not the fat portion, but just the mass of the muscle mass. So if you tend to be taller, for example, you might be on the 7 mLs. Shorter, you might do 5 mLs. And see how that works for you. MCT oil, if you're dying to do your bulletproof coffee in the morning, you can do 2 things. You can skip the MCT oil, maybe a little bit of cream, and then do the ester. I mean, what's better? The point of the MCT oil is to not have breakfast, so save 1,000 calories and have only 300 calories. Well, what's better than 300 calories with oil? No oil. So you can try that. If you can replace the ester, put the ester, don't put it in your coffee, but just take a quick shot of that. And if that gives you the same appetite suppression than the oil, we're still talking a net 300 calories less. So you can do that, or you can just stick to your bulletproof coffee, at least a window of 3 or 4 hours. Some people have tried it and have no problems. Go ahead. But some people have reported even after 4 hours seeing a problem. But you can do the bulletproof coffee in the morning and then save the ester for between lunch and dinner. Empty stomach is key. You can take it with food, but then you're going to have to take 2 to 3 times more. So it doesn't really quite work as well. So that's the deal with the MCT oil. So things to be looking for if it's too much, if you felt sleepy, hungry, yawning, or even lightheadedness, that would be you've taken too much. Now, we're not sure whether that's the amount that's going to be proper for you forever, or whether your body has to get used to it. So I hope that makes sense. We don't know whether if you did that every single day, whether you'd get accustomed to it and you'd start seeing benefits from it. But for now, we just cut it back, and then in a few days or a few weeks, if you like it, you can adjust upward and see if you get the yawning effect again, and then you could cut it right back down. Some people have asked how many times a day can I take it? Consider it like a food: protein, carbs, fat. This is ketones. It's just another food group. So some people prefer to take super small amounts, 5, 6, 7 times a day. You can do that. Some people prefer to take one large amount, and then it just can sustain them for several hours. But some people, that large amount, it'll crash. It depends how your body uses the ketones. If they can use the ketone readily, then great. But sometimes it just creates a spike and a crash. So everyone's different. I have to take 40 mLs for me to notice a difference. And I've explained this before, that sometimes people that are multiple meditators 2 times a day, super crazy healthy eaters, if they're functioning, if their brain is already at 100% or technically over 88% using glucose, when you fill in that second fuel, it doesn't really do as much. So, but most people over the age of 30 have some sort of level of glucose impairment. There's a MCT oil paper that kind of just talks about this energy gap in the brain, which is super interesting. But if you drop down from 88 to 85 or 80 and you don't realize it, and you drink the ester and it takes you over that 88 threshold, then you're going to notice a much bigger difference. And some people take a tiny amount. For me, the tiny amounts, I don't notice much except for bed. I do take tiny amounts before bed, and for me, I'll take anywhere from 5 to 10 mLs depending on what time I go to sleep. The later I go to sleep, the more I take. Let's see what else I got on my list. So one, will it give me energy? For some people, it will give them, they can feel the energy. Other people, it's more of a stamina energy. So more towards the end of the workout, more towards the end of the day, less crashing. Whereas, energy I could think of as more as ketones. So fasting, let's talk about fasting. Probably do a separate video on that. Can you use this while fasting? Well, oh my God, the debate about what foods are allowed with fasting, and does bulletproof coffee break a fast? Does that not count? Well, I guess that's okay if you're using the phrase a carb fast, where you're not eating carbs, but you're eating fat. Some people think in terms of the gut biome, and if you're fasting and you don't want to have any food in there, not even caffeine and coffee, then it wouldn't work for that. But if the purpose of fasting is to get your ketones up, that's what the ester does. What I don't recommend doing is, don't say, hey, I've got this ester, I'm going to fast for 3 days, my blood ketones are at 4 and 5, and then I'm going to take the ester. You probably aren't going to feel anything. You're already at 4 and 5. Taking you from 4 to 5 to 7 and 8 doesn't improve anything. Actually, if anything, it decreases it. I have a vegan keto diet myself, and I had a baseline of 2.0. I took the ester and I went to 6.0, and I did an eye exam before and an eye exam after, and my eyes actually got worse when I was at 7, when I got to 7 millimolar on the ketone meter. Before, it was like a 15-20, like what the Air Force pilots can read, and the guy was saying, oh, we're not going to check you for this line because we can't correct for that. And I was like, let me just test it anyhow. And I was able, super sharp vision, but then when I took more ester, I didn't get sharper. It got a little bit worse. So, the ideal range for the ester is actually to have a baseline 0.2 to 0.8, maybe 1.0. But if you're really, really high, it's not really going to do as much. There's a whole separate video on the concept of drinking exogenous ketones will temporarily stop endogenous ketones. That freaks people out. But, watch that video to better understand that it's still a net sum of the entire day calories. And when Harlan takes it, the tiny amount, he commented to me saying, I don't think I'm ever going to eat again. Now, we don't normally get that extreme of a response to it, but he took a tiny amount and he just didn't feel hungry for a bunch of hours, and that tiny amount is only 5 or 10 calories worth, so swaps it out. Other things that people you can look for is if you go to lunch, if you took it in the morning and then you go to lunch and you just coincidentally or happen to have not finished that burger, you just hey, normally I finish this plate, I come to this restaurant all the time, and now I'm just leaving 20% more on the plate. That is good. But the opposite is possible. My wife says, so we don't sell this as a weight loss supplement. We don't have the before and afters. We don't make all these claims, multi-level marketing. We don't do any of that stuff. My wife says I can't sell it as a weight loss drink until she loses weight on it. So here's the problem that can happen is some people think that it's this magic pill that they drink this and then they can go have cake, or they drink this and then they can go eat more keto food because somehow it erases it. It puts me in ketosis or puts me back into ketosis. It doesn't work that way. If you drink this drink and then you somehow convince yourself that these calories don't matter and you suddenly eat another 500 calories, yeah, you're going to gain weight. So you have to let it, not use it as an eraser and use it to help you with your willpower. Should increase your willpower and just lack of desire for either carb foods or just even food in general. But let that plate be tossed in the trash if you're halfway through it. No clean plate club. Don't want to do any of that. Think of it this way: every dollar that you throw in the trash is one less dollar that you have to go to the doctor and see him for other conditions. Let's see what else we got. I think that's it. Yeah, so you can, if you wanted to do a multi-day fast, you could do that. You could do 5 mLs 3 times a day, or do it in the morning and then see how long it takes you, and then you can re-up it at that time, or the following day re-up it a half an hour before being hungry, so you can possibly go all the way through. And before bed, immediately before bed, a couple minutes. Don't want to get a new wind on that. And if you do it before workout, that can just be 5 or 10 minutes before the workout, and you don't need to combine it with carbs, which is what we have a separate protocol for elite athletes where they have to take a large amount of ketones and carbs. So you don't need to do any of that. Lots of water is fine. Make sure to dilute the drink, we suggest. My wife thinks I'm a wimp and she just takes it straight. I like to dilute it. She actually starts to enjoy it, so don't even worry about the flavor. But if you're expecting Gatorade, yeah, it'll be bad. But expect something like a ginger shot, and no big deal. So thanks again, Harlan. I hope I answered 90% of the questions that I've been getting. I really appreciate them, and feel free to reach out. Hopefully this will get you started. Try different amounts. It might not work for 4 or 5 times, and we don't know whether that's because your body's getting used to the this exogenous ketone, or whether you're just trying to dial in the right amount. But if you wanted to, you could even take too much, quote unquote, too much if you feel nothing. Take the 15 ml, 20 ml, and then if you like that, see if you can cut back and see if you still recognize what to look for as far as not being jittery. And again, some people will have one reaction to it and feel a burst of energy, and other people will feel calm. So that's it. My direct email is frank@ketoneaid.com. Go ahead and put in the subject line, question from Harlan video. Make sure you subscribe. Hopefully, I think it's on this side. Subscribe to the video. I'll be posting up a whole bunch more. Go back. Some people said that they sat around and watched like an hour, 2 hours of video, because the content that you get here will be on no other website whatsoever. Sometimes it's even the opposite of what the other websites talk about, such as ketone salts versus ketone esters. It's the salt. You can just save a lot of money. Just go buy a bunch of salt when entering into ketosis. And yes, you can use it. Speaking of getting into ketosis, you can use the ester when entering into ketosis, but make sure you get a good amount of salt. Not like, oh, this is my restaurant shaker, I'm going to put a little bit more on my eggs. I'm talking about salt pills. I don't have any around here, but salt and potassium, and also magnesium before bed, and not so much calcium. Magnesium before bed, I take supplement. You can get the Calm drink or just the pills, and I wake up with sodium and potassium pills. And when you're entering into keto, you need a lot more salt. But yes, you can take ester, because what happens is your brain is losing the glucose fuel that it's used to having, but the ketones haven't really ramped up yet. So it can help fill that gap, which is what the ketone salts say. One of the reasons to take their drink. But in that video, I'll explain that the main benefit that they offer is the salt. Their one serving is the equivalent to like 20 salt pills. But you think that you were crazy taking 20 salt pills, but then one scoop, you're fine. So save a lot of money. Go get, I don't like to drink salt water. I'm Himalayan pink salt stuff. And there's also something called no salt from Morton's. That's basically potassium. You can put that in drink, or you can just take salt pills. I like to take them in the morning, then in the afternoon sometimes I'll take them, and then I'll take the magnesium at night. But yeah, you can take a little bit of ester to help you in that transition period as well. So yeah, that's it. Frank at ketone.com. Leave a comment as well. I really appreciate on YouTube, just even, hey, I learned this, or hey, I like this point, or just even just saying hi. The comments, then YouTube sees that this is a real channel and shows it to more people as well. But I definitely appreciate everyone over at Speed Keto, and hopefully someone who doesn't even know what Speed Keto is might actually go check it out and let me know how that is. Go onto Facebook. There's Completely Keto. Group has 150,000 members. You can ask to join there, and then I think it's CompletelyKeto.com where you can order their Speed Keto program. All right, thanks a lot. Hope I covered everything. If not, I've got another 20 videos that you can watch on everything from fruit is the devil and all that other stuff. All right, thanks. Reach out.